It all started as just another ordinary day. The kind of day where people run errands, shop for groceries, and carry on with their lives without expecting anything unusual. But inside one neighborhood grocery store in Ohio, something happened that would turn a routine trip into a moment no one would forget. The aisles buzzed with the quiet rhythm of daily life. Carts rolled smoothly across the polished floor, children tugged at their parents' sleeves, and shoppers drifted between shelves, either lost in thought or chatting softly. The late afternoon sun spilled through the glass doors, giving the small-town store a warm glow. But that ordinary hum of life was about to be interrupted. Near the produce section, an elderly woman, likely in her late 70s, adjusted her glasses as she picked through a pile of apples. Her neatly pinned silver hair and faded cardigan gave her an appearance of gentleness. Yet the sharp impatience in her movements suggested otherwise. She muttered quietly to herself while selecting fruit, seemingly irritated at nothing in particular. Just a few feet away, a young black man walked toward the oranges. His name was Darrell. Dressed casually in a blue hoodie and jeans, he looked like any other shopper. Focused but relaxed, balancing a basket of groceries in one hand while scrolling through his phone with the other. He gave off no disturbance, no reason for anyone to notice him more than the next customer. But someone did. The woman turned sharply as she noticed Darrell nearby. Her expression changed instantly. Her lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes narrowed, and in a voice loud enough to cut through the quiet chatter, she said the words that froze the room. "You people don't belong here." Darrell's fingers hovered above his phone screen. He looked up, unsure if he'd heard her correctly. But before he could speak, she continued, louder, sharper, and unmistakably cruel. "Why don't you go back to Africa where you came from?" The air seemed to grow heavy. Shoppers who had been walking past stopped mid-step. A young mother clutched her child's hand and quickly moved away. Some looked down, pretending not to hear, while others exchanged uneasy glances. The easy rhythm of grocery shopping collapsed into silence, an awkward, tense silence that spread like a wave. Darrell stood frozen, his mind racing. He could respond with anger, lash out, or simply walk away. Instead, he inhaled slowly and steadied himself. His face remained unreadable, but his stillness carried weight. The woman, still clutching her apples, stood firm. She clearly expected no challenge, as though her words were beyond question. The room around them seemed suspended, every shopper now a silent witness to the confrontation. Finally, Darrell spoke. His voice was calm, even measured, but each word carried power. "Ma'am," he began gently, "do you even realize what you just said?" It wasn't an accusation, it was a chance for her to reflect, to back down. But she didn't take it. "I said what I said," she snapped, her voice rising. "This is my country. People like you don't belong here." A small gasp came from a young woman in the bread aisle. The tension deepened. All eyes were on Darrell now, waiting, hoping he would say something, anything that could break the moment. Darrell nodded slowly, his composure unshaken. He set his basket down on the floor, straightened his back, and looked directly at the woman. His calmness was almost magnetic, pulling the crowd closer without them moving an inch. "All right," he said softly, "let's talk about that, since you brought it up." The grocery store fell into absolute silence. Even the hum of the refrigerator seemed muted as everyone leaned in, waiting for his words. "You say I don't belong here, that I should go back. But let me tell you something about where I come from." His voice remained calm, but there was steel behind it. "My great-great-grandfather was born right here in Mississippi. He was a sharecropper, breaking his back every day to feed his family on land he didn't even own. His father, my ancestor, was a slave, kidnapped, beaten, treated like property, and for what? To help build this very country you're standing in today." The woman's lips pressed tighter, but she didn't interrupt. The crowd, though, leaned in closer, captivated. My grandfather fought in World War II, Darrell continued, his tone steady but stronger now. He risked his life overseas for this country, only to come home and be treated like dirt. Couldn't sit at the same counters, couldn't drink from the same fountains, and yet he stayed, because he believed in America, even when America refused to believe in him. A hush swept the store. Even those who had tried to ignore the moment now couldn't look away. My parents carried that same fight, Darrell said, his voice softening but never wavering. Not with fists or weapons, but with work and kindness. My mother is a teacher. She's dedicated her whole life to guiding kids, no matter their skin color. My father's a mechanic, the kind of man who would pull over to help if your car broke down, even if you had just spoken to him the way you spoke to me. He paused, letting his words settle. His eyes locked on the elderly woman's, steady and unwavering. So when you tell me I don't belong here, that I should go back, understand this. I belong here every bit as much as you do, maybe even more, because my family paid for this country in sweat, in tears, and in blood. The elderly woman's hands trembled as she clutched her apples. Her face flushed, caught between anger and shame. She opened her mouth to reply, but nothing came out. Darrell straightened, his presence filling the space. He turned slightly, now speaking to everyone who had gathered. I could have walked away, he said, his voice carrying across the store, but silence doesn't make ignorance disappear. If we want better, we have to speak up, all of us. The silence that followed was profound. Shoppers stared at him, their expressions shifting from shock to admiration. And then, slowly, a man in a baseball cap near the dairy section stepped forward. "He's right," the man said firmly. "We've got to be better than this." That broke the spell. A woman near the frozen foods added quietly, "My father fought in that same war. He always told me the only color that mattered was red, the red in our flag." The murmur spread, people nodding, whispering, affirming. A young cashier called out from her station, "I've never seen anyone handle something like that so gracefully. Thank you." The elderly woman's defiance began to crumble. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for support, but no one stepped in. She gripped her cart, her voice faltering. "I didn't mean," she started, but trailed off. Darrell's expression softened, but his words remained clear. "It's not about what you meant," he said gently. "It's about what you said. Words matter. Actions matter." The silence broke into applause. It started hesitantly, then grew louder, filling the store. People weren't just clapping for Darrell. They were clapping for dignity, for courage, for truth spoken without anger. The elderly woman turned away, her cart rattling as she pushed it toward the exit. She didn't apologize, but the fire in her eyes had dimmed. Darrell lifted his basket, nodding faintly to the crowd. "Sometimes," he said softly, almost to himself, "it's not about winning an argument. It's about making sure the truth is heard." The shoppers slowly returned to their routines, but the atmosphere was different, softer, more reflective. Some looked inspired, others thoughtful, but all were changed in some way. Later that evening, Darrell recounted the story to his father at their kitchen table. His father listened quietly, his rough hands folded in front of him. After a long pause, he spoke. "You did the right thing, son, not just for yourself, but for everyone who was watching. People like her, they may not change right away, but you planted a seed, and sometimes that's all you can do." Meanwhile, across town, the elderly woman sat alone at her dining table, her plate of food untouched. Darrell's words replayed in her mind, echoing louder than she wanted them to. She thought about her grandchildren, about the world they're growing up in, and she wondered if, maybe, just maybe, she had been wrong. In the days that followed, word of the confrontation spread throughout the community. Neighbors talked about the young man who faced hate with composure and strength. Strangers thanked Darrell for what he said. His actions sparked conversations people had avoided for too long.
And though he sought no spotlight, his stand reminded everyone who heard about it of a simple truth, that kindness, courage, and truth are stronger than ignorance. So to everyone listening now, remember this: your words matter, your actions matter. They can divide or they can unite. They can tear down or they can build up. The choice is always yours. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we can spread stories of courage, dignity, and hope and create a world where everyone truly belongs.